So today we're gonna talk about rags riches. You know those stories about when somebody that's from the ghetto may move into Bel-Air mansions?
This is my brother Carlton. He knows we can't afford any bigger clothes, so he just doesn't grow.
You mean like silver spoons?
Hey, all right, thanks, dude.
Wait.
Oh, wait.
No, you mean like Richie Rich?
Yikes.
That's not rags to riches. That's riches to riches.
Today we're gonna talk about those things
Take people from rags
to
to
riches.
riches.
Welcome to Whiskey Pop. My name's Jeff.
And I'm still, as always, Zane.
So today we're gonna talk about rags to riches, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
So those instances where a pop culture icon went from being poor in the hood to rich in the squalor.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're talking like what? The Beverly Hillbilly type story.
Yeah, that kind of story. So, but before we do that, I think we need to drink
Another boy and bond.
another bottle and bond budget whiskey.
This
on top
is
of that.
budgeted whiskey. This is old
Overholt. This is one of the oldest whiskeys in the United States. I mean, these guys have been producing whiskey since 1810.
That's a long time for those of you who don't do math.
That's true. That's before the Bottle and Bond Act. So, hey, let's pour this up.
Let's do it.
Ready to do this?
I'm doing it. I'm
Let's
grabbing.
Let's go in.
Oh, it smells like whiskey.
A little fruity. You notice that? A little bit of...
I do that. I'm getting more and more crazy.
No, we're getting crazy. We're getting crazy. But it's a little more fruity, though.
No, it's good.
Let's go.
Smells
Let's
good.
go. Let's go in on this. Let's see.
Wow, I just got a bad chill.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, that had nothing to do with the whiskey though.
You know, that's not as spicy as I thought it would be. A little subdued.
If I didn't know better, I would say I'm drinking a rye.
It is a rye.
Oh, well, I guess I know better. Oh, straight rye whiskey. There you go. Okay. Well, that explains it.
So yeah, it is a rye, so it's a little spicy, a lot of rye spice in that. But I think later this week when we do second pour,
Yeah, I want to know more about it actually.
yeah, there's a lot we can talk about this.
Okay,
so
cool.
it's an older whiskey. It's been around a long time, old Overholt. So if you watch second pour later this week on Friday,
Yep.
you'll be able to catch more about this whiskey and what we think about it. So in the meantime,
Let's talk about rags to riches.
rags to riches. Now, what would you say? Beverly Hillbillies is the most recognizable rags to riches
I
story?
mean, if you're out shooting for some food and up through the ground comes a
Bubbling
bubbling crude.
crude.
Listen to a story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude.
It's like a lottery.
I mean, how many of you guys watch Beverly Hills? Like, I know you didn't watch it growing up, because if you did, you're really old.
Yeah, please tell me it was syndicated and 5-time rerun.
I'm pretty sure it was syndicated by the time I was watching it.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. And you're old. Yeah.
So, I mean, but you know, they had Uncle Jed and Granny
Yeah.
and, you know, what was it? Jeffro Bodine.
Yeah, and we covered it in the Southern Fried
And
kind
we
of
talked
thing.
a little bit during our Southern Fried talk about that. But, I mean, I think there was something to be said about that show. I mean, they had the jalopy.
Oh, and they didn't get rid of it. They kept all the things that made them a family, which a lot of people thought, well, that was just you being poor.
Didn't they have a bowling alley in their house? I can't remember, but didn't they like bowl in the house in a place that wasn't the bowling alley?
I don't remember. I don't
There's
know.
all kinds of crazy stuff about
There's
it.
just
And
so
I do
much
know,
to having.
I do know that Jalopy's actually been in England
Oh, really?
on
That's
tour,
interesting.
and I think it's actually sits in the Smithsonian now.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
So
be
it's a
surprised.
big part of Americana and pop culture,
But it's a good example of going from rags to riches within pop culture. Everybody sees
and then
that
not
story.
losing who you are.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing with the movie Annie.
The hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us.
Oh, Annie, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so
same kind of deal. Rags to riches, adopted girl.
lives in an orphanage.
And she changes everybody else around her as opposed to her changing.
I mean, Daddy Warbucks. Now, we knew he was rich, right?
Yeah, of
But with
course.
a name like Warbucks, do you think maybe he was just into, like, you know, illegal arms sales?
No, he was what they would call a Republican back in those days.
Back in those
Yeah,
days.
you know, it was like they were fighting the Bolsheviks.
Well, that would explain the bald white guy.
Yeah, you know, it's that whole idea of like a prime capitalist, you know, who knows exactly what all his business dealings
Yeah,
are.
but his heart was cold, just like every Republican.
But something, and we're not talking Richard Simmons.
Oh, yeah. Something curly-headed changed him. Come on, Daddy Warbucks! Let's do this!
And lift and breathe. And lift and breathe. And breathe and lift.
But you
and
know,
pull.
you know, the sun will come out tomorrow.
Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow.
I
There'll
think
be sun.
it was, they redid that movie back in the 80s. I remember, I think I had a cousin, she must have watched that movie like every day for like 2 years.
Oh yeah, you know. It's,
Unfortunately, I think I know every song in the 80s.
I mean, it's a hard knock life to have to deal with that movie.
It is.
You know.
You know, and I think that movie inspired like an 80s hit like Punky Brewster.
Who are you?
I'm Punky Brewster. And who are you?
I'm the manager of this building, Henry Waniment.
Nice to meet you, Hank.
Punky Brewster is a rags to riches type story.
And she got adopted by the guy who's the head of the police academy.
Rags to riches. Whatever.
Okay, so we did that. But now there's modern takes on that too.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's movies as well.
Well, there is movies, such as
Well, you got your whole Trading Places. You've got the iterations of that.
it's all right, Trading Places.
I can see! I can see! I have legs!
Just what do you think you're doing?
Randolph, Mortimer, come in here quickly. I finally caught him.
It was the Dukes. It was the Dukes.
You're a dead man.
You want me to break something else?
Trading Places was, I think, Eddie Murphy's one of his first breakout roles.
Yeah, it might have been. I know it was an early movie, and it was successful.
Oh, it did really well. I mean,
Yeah.
anything Eddie Murphy touched back in the 80s did really well. And so, I mean, but here he is playing this, like, con man who gets given a chance to become this big stock executive while these Reddit people take all his money. Oh, wait.
Wait, wrong story.
That's a real story going on right now.
Cheers to you, the little people.
It's all the little people.
And the nerds that survived.
But yeah, so Trading Places is definitely one of those rags to riches stories.
Yeah.
And it kind of fits with our cheap whiskey, budget whiskey month, and what is it, country fried?
Country fried. You know, but with that too, you know, we already started talking about different strokes.
So yeah, there's different strokes.
Well, it's finally official, guys. You're my sons.
And my brothers. You're the greatest, Dad.
No.
Family fun time. What channel's that on?
Can't go around copying somebody else. You got to be your own original.
That's easy for you to say. You've got a lot more to work with. What you talking about, Willis? What you talking about, Dad? What you talking about, Mr. Sloan? What you talking about, Willis?
Different Strokes is one of those feel-good shows back in the 70s.
That's the key with that show.
And it went all the way through the 80s. I mean, I remember at that point, I bet you Gary Coleman was like 30 years old by the time that show ended.
Yeah, he may have been. Different Strokes actually has got bad clout in some review circles because of the idea that it took a white guy
Right.
to rescue these poor black children.
And that's not the case.
If you watch that show, you're watching a guy who loves these kids. It didn't matter about their station or so much even like the color of their skin. Did you know that I didn't ever think about those kids being anything but like me as a kid?
And neither did Mr. Drummond. So, I mean, but here's the deal. Mr. Drummond pointed out, even in the first episode, that he adopted those two boys because the woman that used to work as his house cleaner for his family was this really sweet woman that he really connected with growing up. And she had these two boys, and she passed away unexpectedly. And he knew that these two boys had no chance of having any life because she didn't have anybody else that was family. So he went out and adopted these kids for the purpose of they would be taken care of. He
Yeah.
felt like he owed it to her.
The story
It has nothing to do with like this whole guilt complex or all of this crap people paint nowadays.
In fact, I'm gonna tell you, yes, the stories are cheesy or whatnot, but I'll throw it out there. That is a beautiful TV show.
It's a great TV show, and
It's great.
they do have a lot of racial discussions within that show. Obviously, that's
very
comes up.
poignant things.
Yeah, I mean, there's even a case where I remember Mr. Drummond getting on to his mother because she was still racist, and he's like, "Listen, if you don't like it, you can just leave."
Yeah.
And he was very poignant about it. And, you know, the show really dealt with some of those hard racial issues. I dare say that I think a lot of shows today are just afraid to touch on
Yeah,
that
they
stuff anymore.
don't want, because they don't want to be criticized or broke down.
They're
because,
just too scared of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why those old 70s shows like that are just so well written. You don't like the Jeffersons. Which is kind of a rags and riches story. It's a
moving on up to the.
That's right. I mean, it's a guy who built a company into being very successful, and he moved from the poor side of town to the rich side of town.
It's great, and it just dealt with that idea. It was the success story and the comedy that goes with success when you had still kind of like that mindset of like, well, I don't have money. I don't have riches.
And they dealt with those racial issues once again in there, which clearly here we are. It's funny. Here we are like, what, almost 50 years later?
Yeah.
And we're still having that conversation.
Like, no, we're still scared to have the conversation.
It's like nobody wants to talk about it. But these
Yeah.
rags and riches stories really were those things that they tackled.
Yeah. When it comes to this budget whiskey,
I feel like a millionaire.
I feel like a millionaire.
Honestly, this isn't too bad for a budget whiskey.
Nah, it's not bad at all.
I mean, I think that's actually pretty tasty. So, in the meantime, you guys continue to like, subscribe to our videos.
Hey, and look for that notification bell because we have one, just like everybody else.
That's right. And, feel free to go up and pick up one of these budget whiskeys we've been doing the last few weeks and try it yourself.
Yeah, and let us know what you think because, being experts.
We're not experts.
Being experts. We still want to know your opinion of you wee little people. Who are so small and tiny. Well, rags to riches, hopefully that'll be our story.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be our story, but that requires you guys to watch more videos. So in the meantime, you guys continue to be geeky this week, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Whiskey Pop. Cheers.
Be safe.